Hi guys, and welcome to Evita at the Rhythm of My Heart. Thank you so much for watching. Today I have prepared for you a quick overview of some of the most must-have pantry items, especially for those of you that have been writing to me, which I'm very excited, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart to all my subscribers. You've been following my videos and also making my recipes. So thank you all for all that great reception and all those wonderful comments. I do appreciate your feedback. So I'm going to take you down the line and just show you some of the pantry items that I like to keep in my pantry and also in my refrigerator. First, I want to start by thanking all my subscribers. When I started this channel a couple of months ago, I began recording these videos so that I can leave them as a gift for my children for the future. So I'm very excited to see that there's people out there who are enjoying my videos and my recipes. And I also am extremely excited with all the comments and the messages that I receive asking me questions about ingredients, and so I can't even begin to describe to you guys just how happy the past couple of months have made me. So from the bottom of my heart to all my subscribers, thank you. So I put together a quick overview of some of the ingredients that are a must-have in your pantry, especially if you've been following my videos. If you notice, I use some of the same ingredients and I just put them together and I create these recipes. And as always, remember, the videos and the recipes that I share with you are recipes that I write. So please keep in mind that they are my interpretation of, what I remember eating, or maybe just something that I created based on a dish that I've tried in the past. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the most obvious, and that is our sofrito base. We all have our own recipes depending on who taught us how to make it. I have a video on how to make my sofrito, and also I have a video on how to make our achiote or annatto seed oil. When I make annatto seed oil, I like to make big batches, and I keep it in a jar in the refrigerator, and it stays fresh for a very long time. Now, I also keep my sofrito in these little zip bags, and they come in measurements of 1 cup, which is very convenient because you just cut what you need and you just pop the rest in the freezer, and they're available for your use whenever you need them. And of course, garlic paste is another ingredient that I use quite a bit. I also have a video on how to make my garlic paste and also how to store it in the freezer. Achiote, for those of you who are not Puerto Rican and are not familiar with it, it's a seed, and what we do is we melt them, but you can find them in little containers like this in your local grocer, Spanish or Asian, and I believe in most supermarkets these days. Or if you're lucky like me, you have somebody in Puerto Rico like my mom, you can have them shipped to you directly from Puerto Rico. Now for round 2 of the must-have on your pantry, I have prepared for you some of my favorites. Let's start with the tomato sauce. There is a variety of brands available to you, but I must say this is by far my favorite. I like its consistency. It's pretty thick, and I like that you can use a little bit less of it. Typically, tomato sauce is one of those things that I use in combination with tomato paste, and I buy the tomato paste that either comes in a tube like this. Of course, they have different brands available that you can find. The good thing about the tubes is that you use what you need, you squeeze out what you need, which is normally ranging between 1 to 2 tablespoons, and then you just place the rest in the refrigerator, and it keeps fresh for a long time without it, going rancid. You can also find tomato paste in little pouches like this of about an ounce pouch. I use these too, especially if I'm making my own spaghetti sauce. I tend to go for the little pouches. I stay away from the canned stuff because it's more than I'm gonna need, and it does go bad or rancid pretty quickly. Also, I have here some jamón de cocinar, or ham powder. I like to use the low sodium type. I like to control the amount of salt that I add to my dishes. So whenever I have available a low sodium product, I tend to go for those types of products. Of course, we also use our sazon, and these are two different brands that I've used. Stay tuned. For the last couple of months, I've been trying to develop, or I've been testing my own recipe for homemade sazon with culantro. And the reason for that is because there's been an overwhelming concern from people with the different preservatives and additives that these little packets contain. So stay tuned. I'm very excited, and I'm going to continue doing my research with regards to, you know, this recipe, because I am trying to get as close to the original package, or at least the original taste of the you know, most commonly used sazon as possible. I always grind my own black pepper, so all my recipes, when they call for ground black pepper, you will see that I've ground my own black pepper. I stay away from the tin canned stuff. I believe that's a little bit, it's mixed with other ingredients, and I understand that that's part of the reason why we sneeze when we use that black pepper. I just don't use it at all. It's just a personal preference. I also use roasted peppers, or pimientos morrones as I know them. And one little trick in selecting your peppers or your canned goods, like beans or gandules or peppers, is to shake the can. And if it's not too squishy, you know that it's primarily the product, in this case, peppers. One of my favorite seasonings, you've also seen it on my videos, is the trio, and they're by the Knorr brand, and that is concentrated onion, garlic, and cilantro. These I absolutely love, and you'll see that I use them quite a bit on my recipes. Of course, I use the other types of seasonings, but this just adds a nice flavor of the onion, garlic, and cilantro to all my dishes. Here I have dried oregano, and I use oregano quite a bit, but you also can find them in little packages like this. And most of them come from Mexico, and I think this one comes from Miami, but if you are lucky to find the Mexico or the Mexican type of oregano, it's more potent, and I've used it in the past, and I gotta say, I really like it. I have here also some bay leaves, and I find these in the refrigerator aisle in my local supermarket. I like to buy my bay leaves like this. I don't like buying big quantities of bay leaves because we don't use too much of it. And the truth is that, you know, after a while, they just, you know, they don't have any flavor to them. So I tend to buy little packages like this. Let's see here. I have the cumin, and I also use some parsley and some granulated garlic. And for those of you out there that have used this brand in the past, I just want to make you aware that recently the manufacturer, Badia, underwent a shrinkage on their packages. These used to be 10.5 ounces, and they reduced the ounces to 8 ounces. So be aware of that. The price remained the same, but they have shrunk their container. I noticed that very recently they did that. The same thing goes for the onion powder. And I also like to use some chopped onion depending on the recipe that I'm making. And of course, adobo, and I always use adobo without pepper. That's just a personal preference, because I like to add pepper as an addition to my dish, and I like to control every ingredient that goes into my recipes anytime I can. And on to one of my favorite seasonings, that is Sazonador Total. This I discovered about 12 years ago and has been my go-to seasoning. All by itself, it's great with chicken, fish. I use it in just about every one of my recipes. So, you know, it comes in different brands, but this is the one that I like to use. And of course, a must-have in your kitchen is your chicken bouillon powder. If you know you want to make a quick broth or a quick stock, this is just like the quickest and easiest way to do so. I also like to make my own vegetable broths and beef broth and chicken broth, but if I'm in a pinch, this is what I'm going to be using. Here I have Jamonilla. This is a Tulip brand, but some of you know it as Spam. And this was my mother's go-to as a protein. It was a substitute for protein in most of her meals, because you know it's really good by itself. You just slice it into little slices and you just pan fry it, and you know, with some fried eggs, and you're good to go. You have a whole meal. Another essential in our pantry is the canned corned beef. Both of these are very fatty and very salty, so keep that in mind. I also have an assortment of salts, but I just wanted to share with you. You know, check out your Dollar Trees or dollar stores. You'll be amazed what you can find in these stores. And I picked up these 1 pound Himalayan salt packages for $1, which is a bargain. And I tend to use, and you'll see in my recipes, either the pink salt, gray salt. I found recently this lovely purple salt, and basically all it is grape infused salt. You know, I like to experiment with different types of dishes. Another ingredient that you'll see in some of my recipes is the French sauce or Worcestershire sauce. I hope I said that right. And I've used these two brands in the past. This is the original brand, I understand, but they're equally the same, just as good. I've used both. And for some of the mojitos or marinades that dishes that I make, I wanted to share with you these two ingredients, and that's the sour orange or naranja agria and the mojo marinade. I've used these in the past. They're delicious. You'll see that I use naranja agria in some of my recipes, so you know, I just wanted to share with you. You can find these in just about any supermarket these days. For olive oil, my preference would always be extra virgin olive oil. I don't have a particular brand that I use, but from this particular manufacturer, I've been able to get quite a bit of a nice quality olive oil, and for a really good price. So be sure to check that out. I buy it usually in the case because they do give you better pricing when you buy in bulk. And let me see. And the next thing for round 3, I'm going to show you some of the items that I use in some of my baking. I have not done much baking in my channel yet, but I hope that to be able to share some of my favorite baking dishes, cakes and such. And I almost forgot to share with you one of key pantry ingredient for me, and that is hot sauce. And these are some of the different varieties of hot sauce that I like to use. And you'll find these ingredients normally in my recipes as an optional ingredient, like Tabasco, Red Hot, and also Cristal. I hope that in the near future I can share with you some of my cake recipes. So I put together some of my baking pantry essentials for you. I have here some guava paste, and guava paste is very versatile. Typically in Puerto Rico, they will cut it into chunks and serve it to you on a toothpick with chunks of guava, normally white cheese, and some Spanish olives, which is great. But I found many other uses for it. It's great as a cake filling and also in sauces. So be sure to watch out for some of my recipes using guava. I have here some coconut milk. And guys, I've used different name brands of coconut milk, and by far this is my favorite. And the reason for that is it's very thick. I've used it to make limber de coco, which are coconut ices, and absolutely amazing for tembleque de coco or coconut custard. I've also used their coconut milk powder, which is great. And I used the two of these when making my cream of coconut cornstarch. Be sure to check out my video on how to make that. Over here I have some cream of coconut, and Coco Lopez seems to be the name brand of choice for most of us. And you'll find the use of this cream of coconut on our dulce de coco or our arroz con dulce, and of course for our famous coquito, which is usually served during the holidays and Christmas time. Of course, we always have to have on our pantry some evaporated milk and sweetened condensed milk. I have here also some coconut oil. I like to use organic. Coconut oil can be used for baking and also for cooking. Just keep in mind that when you use it for cooking, whatever you're making, it's gonna pick up that fragrance and that aroma, that delicious flavor of coconut in what you make. I like to make my own breads, so I like to bake my breads, and this is the type of yeast that I like to use. Of course, there's different kinds, but this is what I like to keep in my pantry. And for my cakes and baking, I like to use the light corn syrup and also glycerin. The two of these combined helps keep your cakes nice and moist. It actually gives it a longer shelf life. So be sure to do a little research on that. These are very good. I don't like dry cakes, so I tend to use the two of these when I bake, especially because I like to keep some moisture on my cakes. And finally, for my extracts, I get my extracts. I have an assortment of extracts, and I get these from my good friends at Happy Cake in Aguada. And I'll leave their number and information on the description box below. So there you have it. These are all my baking essentials. Finally, I just want to encourage you that if you haven't invested in one of these already, to do so. This is a rice pot, but we use it to cook our rice, our stews, our soup, and they do, as you can see, come in a variety of sizes. So it's a nice investment to have. Of course, if you don't have one of these, you can still cook rice for as long as you have a lid. You can still cook your rice, but if you can, by all means, invest in one of those. Of course, we all have a variety of mortar and pestles in our kitchen, so these are always nice to have. This happened to be one that I inherited from my mother-in-law, as most of my pots and pans I've inherited from either my mother, that she's passed them down to me, or my mother-in-law. And finally, I just want to encourage you to, at least once a month, if you have wooden cutting boards, to treat your cutting boards with some oil. And what that does, number one, it creates a barrier, for moisture. And what that does is it prevents your cutting boards from cracking and also from, moisture. And also, I understand that most of these oils also help prevent the transfer of bacteria. So it's always a good idea to treat your cutting boards, your wooden cutting boards, with wood oil, to preserve the lifespan of your cutting boards. And when I use my cutting boards, I tend to wash them with, of course, some dish soap and also some bleach. I always have bleach on my counter, and I try not to use my wooden cutting boards for poultry or any kind of meats. I have glass cutting boards for that purpose. And finally, guys, I just want to say thank you. I hope this video helps, and until next time, this is Evita at the Rhythm of My Heart. Buen provecho y hasta la próxima.